All right, so let's jump right into this deep dive on the UK job market you've put together. Wow, this podcast plan is impressive, I have to say.
Well, thank you. It's a fascinating area to be looking at right now, that's for sure. It really is a whirlwind of change over there.
It kind of feels like trying to navigate a maze while riding a roller coaster when you look at the UK job market.
Yeah.
But that's why we're doing this deep dive, right? To help break down what's happening and what it means for you listening right now.
Exactly. We're going to look sector by sector. And I think there's some surprising insights in your research here.
Yeah. For example, did you know that the UK is trying to become a global tech hub? And they're actually putting some serious money behind it.
Yeah. It's not just talk.
There's some concrete initiatives. One of your sources even mentions a government-backed program called Digital Boost that offers free tech training.
Yeah. And that's an example of how, even though there's all this uncertainty, there's still investment and focus on skills for the future.
Okay, so before we get into the specifics, let's just set the scene a little bit. What's the overall vibe of the UK job market? I mean, we've got Brexit, after effects lingering, we had the pandemic, and now there's these global economic worries.
Yeah, it's been a bumpy ride for a few years now. The interesting thing is that the UK job market has been pretty resilient. Unemployment is actually relatively low.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And there's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, driving innovation. But it does mean you have to be strategic about your career in the UK right now.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. No. You just have to be a bit more proactive and adaptable than you maybe had to be in the past.
Okay. All right, let's get into some specifics now, starting with information technology. I mean, everybody knows tech is booming. But what does that actually mean for job seekers in the UK specifically?
Well, one of your sources cites a report that predicts over 1 million new tech jobs will be created by 2025.
Wow, okay. But are these like entry-level jobs, or are we talking about something else?
They need specialized skills. Things like data analytics, cybersecurity, cloud computing.
So it's not enough to just be good with computers anymore.
No. And companies are really struggling to fill these roles, which is why a program like that Digital Boost we mentioned is so important.
Okay, now we're talking. Now it's getting really relevant for anyone listening because that's a direct link. I mean, you mentioned in your notes that you're interested in getting into data analysis.
Yeah.
This could be your chance to get the training you need.
For sure. And even though, yes, there are worries about budget cuts and things in the tech sector, the demand for those specific skills is expected to stay high.
So even with a potential recession or whatever.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Tech is still a solid bet.
Okay.
Let's move on to finance. Always a major player in the UK, but it sounds like there's some serious disruption happening.
Definitely.
One of your sources talks about neobanks. What are those?
Basically, they're these digital-only banks, and they're challenging all the big traditional financial institutions.
And they're appealing to younger customers.
Yeah. With their user-friendly apps, and innovative services, and that's creating new jobs.
Ah, okay. So it's not all bad news in finance, right?
Right. But you also mentioned in your research that automation is a big threat in finance. And that seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Because it's like this weird paradox. Fintech is creating new jobs, but AI and machine learning are automating a lot of the traditional finance tasks.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So for somebody who wants to get into finance now, what do they need to know? What do they need to focus on?
You need to focus on things that can't be easily automated, like, strategic thinking, problem solving, relationship management. One of your sources even suggested specializing in a niche area, like ESG investing, for instance.
ESG investing. Now, I've been hearing that a lot, but I'm not sure I totally understand it.
Yeah, it stands for environmental, social, and governance investing.
Okay.
It's investing that considers the ethical impact of what a company is doing.
Ah, okay. So it's like socially responsible investing, but maybe even more so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's a big focus now for investors and companies, which means they need professionals who understand this stuff.
That aligns with your interest in sustainability, too.
Yeah. So if you want to make a difference and build a career, ESG could be it.
Really interesting. Okay. Let's move on to a sector that's facing some pretty serious challenges. Healthcare.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
The NHS has been in the news a lot, and not for great reasons. Staffing shortages, burnout, budgets being cut. It's a tough time to be in healthcare.
It is. One of your experts even called it a slow-burning crisis.
Yeah, the demand for healthcare professionals is huge, but the workforce is really stretched thin.
And it's not just about numbers, it's the human cost.
Yeah.
You highlighted how burnt out everyone is and how that impacts patients.
Yeah, one of the nurses you interviewed talked about feeling like she was drowning in paperwork and constantly on edge.
Yeah, it's a really difficult situation.
So, where do we go from here? What are some potential solutions?
Well, there's no easy fix, unfortunately.
Right.
It's going to take increased funding, better working conditions, more focus on preventative care. But one potential bright spot is the move to online healthcare solutions.
Oh, okay, yeah. This connects back to the rise of online jobs and remote working that we've seen. So we're seeing that shift towards telehealth and remote healthcare services.
Absolutely. And it's creating all these new opportunities for healthcare professionals who are comfortable in that digital world.
One of your sources even suggested the future of healthcare is hybrid, blending in-person care with virtual consultations and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
So even amidst the challenges, there's innovation happening in healthcare. Okay, so we've covered IT, finance, and healthcare. They're all being impacted by technology in different ways.
For sure.
Now, what about retail? It's taken a huge hit with the rise of e-commerce.
It has. Traditional shops are struggling to compete with how convenient and cheap online shopping is. And that's definitely affecting jobs.
Yeah. I've seen so many shops closing down. Is retail just a sinking ship at this point?
I don't think so. Not entirely. It's changing, though. One of your sources argued that the future of retail is what they call omni-channel, which means you need to blend the online and offline experience.
So it's not about choosing one or the other. It's about finding a way to combine them.
Yes, exactly. And that takes a different type of retail worker. Someone who is comfortable with technology, good with customers, and can adapt as things change.
What kind of specific skills are we talking about?
Digital marketing is huge. E-commerce is essential. And then, stuff like supply chain management, because you need to get things to people efficiently.
What about traditional retail skills, though? Are those still relevant at all?
Yeah, customer service is even more important now, as is creating a good experience in person for people.
So it's not just about clicking buttons and packing boxes. It's still about that human interaction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears one more time and talk about online jobs specifically. This whole area has exploded in the past few years. It's fascinating and a little overwhelming all at the same time.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of uncertainty. One expert actually called it the gig economy on steroids.
Wow. Okay, so what do people need to know if they want to navigate the world of online jobs?
Well, you need to be realistic about the challenges. Remote work gives you flexibility, but it also can be isolating.
Yeah.
It can blur the lines between work and life, and sometimes the work isn't very secure.
Yeah, one person you interviewed said that freedom comes with responsibility.
Yeah, I like that quote. It's very true. You need to be really self-motivated and disciplined if you're going to work remotely and actually thrive.
So what are the specific skills that employers look for if you want to work online?
Well, communication is key, obviously, because you're interacting with everyone virtually. You need to be good at managing your time and working independently. So it sounds like there's a whole new skill set needed to make this work. Yeah. It's a different way of working for sure. And you need to be aware of things like scams.
Right.
And you have to advocate for yourself when it comes to things like pay and benefits.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So there's a lot to think about, but there are definitely opportunities out there for people with all different kinds of skills. Right?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there are so many different types of online jobs.
Yeah.
Writer, developer, designer, virtual assistant.
That's where all the research you did on the different platforms and job boards comes in handy.
Exactly. You've actually compiled a really useful list of resources for different industries and skill sets.
Okay. So even though this online world can be overwhelming, having the right tools and resources can make a big difference. All right. We've covered 5 big areas: IT, finance, healthcare, retail, and these online jobs, each with their own opportunities and challenges.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to touch on the big picture trends that are affecting everything in the UK job market.
Yes, absolutely. Those are crucial to understand as well.
What are we talking about here specifically?
Well, first of all, we've got this economic uncertainty and inflation.
Yeah, everything's getting more expensive and wages aren't keeping up.
Exactly. So it's impacting everybody's budget. One of your experts suggested that people build a strong financial foundation. Budget, track spending, and find ways to cut costs.
Yeah, solid advice. It's about being proactive with your money. Okay. What else?
Another big thing is that employers are looking for people who are versatile. They want people with a range of skills who can adapt to change and wear multiple hats.
So it's not enough to just be good at one thing anymore.
Yeah, not really. No.
You need to be able to learn new things quickly.
Yeah. The workplace now is all about agility and continuous learning.
And I guess this ties into the whole thing about soft skills that we keep hearing about.
Yeah, definitely. Communication, collaboration, problem solving, critical thinking. Those are the things that are becoming more and more valuable.
Because those are things that are harder to automate. It's not just about technical expertise, it's about being able to work well with people and think for yourself. Okay. So we've got economic uncertainty, the need for versatility, the rise of soft skills. What else is impacting the UK job market right now?
Mental health.
Yeah.
We've talked about it in healthcare, but it's a big deal across the board. The always-on culture, the pressure to constantly upskill, the economic worries. It's a lot for people to deal with.
Yeah.
One of your experts said, your career is a marathon, not a sprint, which I thought was a really good way to put it.
Yeah, it's a reminder that it's okay to slow down sometimes. It's okay to take breaks and set boundaries. You have to prioritize your well-being.
Exactly. And to seek help when you need it. There's no shame in that. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the overall vibe of the UK job market and then 5 specific sectors. We've also identified some big picture trends and even touched on financial planning and well-being.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
I'm feeling more informed now, and I have to say, maybe a little bit more optimistic about the whole situation.
That's good to hear. And remember, even with all the challenges, there's still that sense of excitement and possibility in the UK. It's a really innovative place.
I love that. So as we move on to the next part of our deep dive, I'm wondering how our listener can use all of this information to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, great question. Let's get into that. So we've covered a lot of ground exploring those sectors, and I think those overarching trends really paint a picture of where the UK job market is headed.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about. But how can someone listening actually use this information to map out their next steps?
That's the question, isn't it? Luckily, I think your research gives us a good framework to work with. Remember that really detailed podcast plan you put together?
Yeah.
I think we can use that as a kind of roadmap to create an action plan for you.
Okay, perfect. So where do we start?
Let's go back to your goals. You mentioned wanting a role that combined your passion for sustainability with your finance background.
We talked about ESG investing earlier. Yes. And that seems like it could be a good fit. What would be the first step to explore that path?
Well, that's a great question.
One of your sources, a career counselor who specializes in sustainable finance, suggested starting with professional development. There are all kinds of online courses and certifications in ESG investing.
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I found a few courses offered by the UK Sustainable Investment and Finance Association. They look pretty good.
Yeah, those are fantastic. Getting certified is a great way to show your commitment to this area.
Okay, so certification is on the to-do list. What else can I be doing to position myself for ESG investing?
Networking is a big one, especially in a specialized area like this. Your research actually included a list of industry events and online communities that might be worth looking into.
Oh, that's right. There was a conference on sustainable finance happening in London next month. Perfect. Attending events like that is the best way to meet people in the field. You can learn about what's happening right now, and you never know. You might even stumble across a job opportunity.
That's a good idea. Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Now let's be realistic for a second. How do I prepare for the whole economic uncertainty thing while I'm making this career transition?
Well, one of your financial experts gave some very practical advice, which is to build up a financial cushion before you make any drastic career moves.
Yeah, that makes sense. Having a little bit of an emergency fund would make me feel a lot more secure.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. Just set a little bit aside each month.
Okay. So financial planning is on the list. Now, you mentioned that soft skills are getting more and more important, especially with the rise of AI and things. Which one should I be focusing on?
I think based on your research and your goals, communication and problem solving are at the top of the list for sure. ESG investing involves a lot of explaining complex ideas to clients, advocating for sustainable solutions and navigating tricky situations with different stakeholders.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about being able to communicate effectively and think strategically.
Yeah, exactly. One of your guest speakers, a communications coach, suggested joining a public speaking group or even taking an improv class.
Wait, improv for finance professionals. That's interesting.
It might sound a bit strange, but improv can help you think on your feet. You learn to adapt to unexpected situations, and you build confidence, all of which are good in any job.
I'm noticing a pattern here. Being adaptable, a continuous learner, and open to new things. Those seem like they're valuable qualities in today's world.
You got it. Don't forget about building a strong online presence, too.
Oh, right. I need to update my LinkedIn profile. And maybe I should start a blog or portfolio to showcase my interest in ESG.
That's a great idea. It's your first impression for many employers.
Okay. So much to think about. Professional development, networking, finances, soft skills, my online presence. It seems like a lot, but I feel good having a clear direction now.
It is a lot. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint, remember.
That's true.
And you don't have to do it all at once. Small steps lead to big results.
Let's shift gears a little bit now and talk about mental well-being. Now, this is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
Especially when they're feeling stressed or uncertain about the future.
It's true.
What advice did your experts give on how to manage all that stress and stay motivated during a job search or career transition?
Well, one thing that came up a lot was the importance of self-care.
Yeah.
It's easy to neglect those basic things when you're feeling the pressure.
It is. And when you're stressed, those are the things that can actually help you the most. Your research mentioned mindfulness and meditation as being helpful for stress and anxiety.
Oh, yeah. I keep meaning to try meditation, but I never seem to have the time for it.
One expert gave a great tip. Start with just 5 minutes a day.
Okay.
Even a little bit can have a big impact on your mood and focus.
All right. I can try that. I'm willing to try that. What else can I do to stay motivated and avoid burning out? A lot of sources talked about setting realistic goals and celebrating the small victories.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get discouraged when you're facing rejection or setbacks, so you need to give yourself credit for the effort you're putting in.
It's true. It's about focusing on the process, not just the end result.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. Reach out to your network for support, find some mentors, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's good advice. It's easy to isolate yourself, but having a support system makes a big difference.
It really does. And remember, a career change is a process, not an event. It's okay to take your time and explore different things and adjust your plans as you go along.
This has been such a helpful conversation. I've gone from feeling totally lost and overwhelmed to feeling like I have an actual path forward now.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, the UK job market might be complex and always changing, but it's also full of opportunities.
I'm definitely feeling more optimistic and in control now.
That's what matters. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've talked about a lot of practical steps and strategies, but really, your mindset is the most valuable thing you have.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, developing a growth mindset, seeing challenges as opportunities to learn. Be open to feedback. Constantly look for ways to improve.
So it's not just what you know, it's how you approach learning and growing.
Exactly. And that will serve you well no matter what your career goals are or what challenges you face.
I love that. A growth mindset is the ultimate career superpower.
It is. And as you navigate this job market, remember that challenges will happen, but there are also chances for you to grow and change.
That's really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. This deep dive has been amazing.
My pleasure. And to our listener, I have no doubt that with your passion and your drive to learn, you'll achieve your goals and make a real difference in the world.
I feel like you've given me this amazing treasure map with all these insights and practical steps I can take.
Well, you're already starting to mark those key landmarks, it seems like.
Yeah. I'm ready to go exploring. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I have one more question for you.
Sure. What is it?
Okay. We've covered so much about specific skills and strategies, but if you could give just one piece of advice to anyone who's trying to figure out this UK job market right now, what would it be?
That's a tough one. But if I had to boil it down to just one thing, I'd say embrace curiosity.
Curiosity. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about it. In a world that's changing so fast, curiosity is like your secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It fuels your learning, it makes you more adaptable, and it opens you up to possibilities you might not even have considered.
So it's not just about knowing a bunch of stuff, it's about always wanting to learn more.
Exactly. Curiosity keeps you asking questions, trying new things, and making connections that you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being a lifelong learner, always looking for new knowledge and new experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is something that will help you no matter what career you choose or what obstacles you come across.
I love that. Curiosity as your guiding principle for success. It's so simple, but so powerful.
And it's something you can work on every single day.
Well, I think that's the perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you again for all your wisdom and insights. This deep dive has been truly eye-opening.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening out there, I hope this deep dive is giving you the tools and the inspiration to navigate this UK job market with confidence and with that sense of curiosity.
Remember, the UK job market might be a whirlwind right now, but it's also full of possibilities. So stay curious, stay adaptable, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe one day you will be the expert sharing your insights on this podcast.